Because often a lot of the sweat wicking type of clothes that I wear don't have pockets or don't have deep pockets because I'm a woman and pockets are prejudiced. I mean, it's not the pocket's fault, it's the designer's.
First date expectations and etiquette. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Brandon Diet. I am a producer for film and television.
And I am Gabrielle Pickle, and I am a line producer and producer for film.
Yeah, so we produce things. If this is the first time that you are watching with us, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the more action that we get on this video, the more likely we're going to put out more content. What's going to happen on your first day? Like, what
are you walking into?
Yeah, exactly. And, I know what that feels like.
Extreme anxiety.
I mean, I know that I've had going on to a new set, and I'm not talking about like my first time on a job. I'm talking about the first day on set for that specific job. It still happens even almost 30 years into this industry. I still get those. I also get like strange anxiety nightmare type dreams the night before where I'm being asked to do a specific task and the task doesn't exist. Like I'm trying to you need to find 64 boxes of Cool Jam. And you're like, great, what's Cool Jam? And in my dream, I'm panicking because I have no idea how to find this Cool Jam or whatever. Cool Jam doesn't exist. It's just something your brain makes up. But yeah, there are ways to go about combating those first day jitters. One of the things that I suggest is meditation. Like if you meditate, it's a great way to go ahead and just calm yourself before it happens. Also, you can psych yourself up. I remember when I landed my first producing job, I listened to Lose Yourself before every single day that I went in, and it would just amp me up. Just finding a way to motivate yourself. You could also listen to like self-help tapes or any type of like morning motivation. And another thing too is just surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you through this journey. Your fellow production assistants, co-workers, friends, family, to let you know that, hey, you do got it. And if you don't, just ask.
Yeah, you'll learn.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. I know most crew members, superstitious ritual. I worked with one AD that we set a certain thing to start the day, and he would come over walkie, and that was the thing that he said, and he would play heavy metal music up until that point to in his zone, looking at the schedule. That was his thing. And then at the end of the day, he would take the call sheet once we completed it and burn it. And that was his ritual of process. So figuring out your own rituals and what makes you feel ready to do the job is great. My anxiety likes to be real early. And so sometimes I will still get there early. I am still usually the first person. I arrive and then location shows up and it's why are you here? And I'm anxiety. I shouldn't be here this early, but my anxiety says I'm here, so I'm here. But you can also get on Google Maps and look for to make sure where you're going, look for actual landmarks of what do the streets look like, making sure you know where to go, etc. All of that helps me feel better about getting there.
Yeah.
And 4 hours early.
And the night before, if you have trouble waking up in the morning, set yourself 35 different alarms.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure that you are there. Also, do a pre-look the day before. Do a map search to figure out how long it's going to take you to get to set. And then factor in possible traffic, automobile accidents, whatever might end up happening. So you have a buffer to arrive at least 15 minutes early for your first shift. Gabby would do 30. I do 15.
I might do 2 hours, but at least 30.
But whatever works best for you to ensure that you're there on time and ready to rock and roll. Now, when you show up to your first day, you're going to be expected to have certain things with you already. So here are some of the things that we suggest you bring to set on your first day. Number 1, it is going to be some kind of a fanny pack or a utility belt.
This is the one that I used for years. I bought it off of Amazon, and now I use it as the treat bag for my puppy. because I don't use one anymore, but it's great. It has a belt that can be tightened, which is important because I will hook my walkie to this and then have different tools. And then I'll have tools and pins and different things in here and keep this on me. Because often a lot of the sweat wicking type of clothes that I wear don't have pockets or don't have deep pockets because I'm a woman and pockets are prejudiced. I mean, it's not the pocket's fault. It's the designer's. So this comes in handy. And you'll see, you can, if you just have a regular fanny pack, anything that helps you, or if you have a lot of pockets, like cargo pants also work. Just something where you can keep things on you throughout the day.
Yeah. And make sure to bring some pens. It's always good to have a pen on you on set. Don't become too attached to it because those tend to disappear. You'll actually see a pen grow feet and just walk off the set. I've seen it happen many a times. People think it's folklore, but it's not.
It's not.
Pens, Sharpie. Black Sharpie is always really good to have.
You'll be labeling tape. Not necessarily black tape, but...
Yeah. Also some kind of a utility tool. So I know a lot of sets try to stay away from Swiss Army knives because the whole knife situation, it's not good to be having those on set. But some kind of like multi-use utility tool that has like a screwdriver or some kind of like pliers or whatever it is on there because you never know when you might actually end up needing that.
Make sure you bring a charger so you can charge your phone. I will say this. Don't charge your phone on the main generator. It will probably get you fired.
A portable charger is always a good thing to have.
Having a brick or having multiple, it's also a great way to make friends with crew members is to offer them to charge their phone on a brick during a break, or you see them downtime and they're like stuck to a wall because that's where the socket is. You can be like, hey, you want it? Now make sure you get it back because those will also walk off and those are prime real estate. But that's a great way to make friends. Another good way to make friends is having a lighter on you. You don't have to smoke, but you just have it ready for all of the crazy old film people that are also smoking. Let's talk about clothing.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend picking out your clothing the night before. Even if that is not who you are as a person, on your first day, it will both help with jitters and also you are just better to think about it the day before. You have to wear closed-toed shoes. It is a safety hazard. You are walking into basically what is a construction zone wherever you are. Wear closed-toed shoes. If you have some with like good insoles or you buy good insoles, think about you're going to be on your feet and moving for 12 plus hours of the day. And a good insole will really help your back. And it will start to hurt even if you're young. It will, because you're often on asphalt or gravel that can just be very, very hard on your body. So wear the closed-toed shoes. I love a good like steel-toed boot moment. It's my favorite thing, but at least wear your tennis shoes, something. If you're going to be in a swampy area, I would pay attention to that and throw in something that's waterproof. Pay attention to the weather. I highly recommend, no matter where you're filming, Alaska to Hawaii, layers. Because there are so many times when you get wet just because there's fog or there's a mister or whatever, or you're sweating because you're outside lifting things and then you come inside and it's wildly freezing and AC and you're back and forth and having multiple layers that you can take on, put on, take off is important, is absolutely vital to just keeping yourself comfortable throughout the day. A bandana is a great friend. Like they can be for sweat, they can be to clean up something, like just having something like that around is always helpful.
As a PA as well, you're going to more than likely sweat and you're more than likely going to get dirty. So don't be pulling out your $1,500 Versace shirt because you think that you're going to look fly on set. That's probably going to get ripped.
Save that for the wrap party.
Exactly. As far as pants are concerned, typically jeans are really good because they're durable. Cargo.
Situation.
Cargo is great because you have the extra pockets, put things in. You know, this isn't a fashion show. Even if you're filming a fashion show.
Right. It's not. Black is always safe. Black is what most crews wear. And you'll see as you kind of learn crews over time that certain people will wear the same thing every day. You know, there was one UPM that I worked for that wore a black turtleneck every single day of the entire year and khaki cargo shorts. And she never had to think about what I'm wearing. Well, like it worked for her. other people, I like sweat wicking things. And so I tend to just buy a lot of black sweat wicking things, hope all the blacks match, and just layer them up.
Yeah, I'm a jeans and either a dark blue, navy, or a black polo or shirt. That's just how I dress in general anyhow, but that's Brandon's outfit on set. Brandon's going to be wearing a blue or black polo and some jeans or some shorts if it's really, really hot. But you should also be prepared for your day to look like a typical spring day in Georgia, which is it could be winter, spring, summer, fall. It can rain. It can not rain. It could do whatever it wants. So just be prepared for that. So in your car or vehicle, whatever it might be, if you're taking public transit, maybe you have a backpack, but always keep an umbrella and an extra pair of socks with you at all times, because you never know when your feet are going to get wet. And it is horrific to be working on a 12 to 14 hour day when your feet are wet all day. And then also the umbrella,
or poncho or some type of rain thing, because here's the thing. If it's raining and they're filming, you're still going to be doing a lockup in the rain. So having something that protects you is important.
Yeah. And speaking of importance, communication. We've talked about this already, but communication is extremely important while on set. And knowing how to clearly communicate questions, ideas, comments, whatever it is, one, to the appropriate person, and two, in the appropriate means of communication. So if you're looking at means of communication, I'm talking about verbal in-person communication. Two, we're talking about phone calls. Three, walkie-talkies. Four, some kind of a group text chat. It could be Slack, or it could just be through WhatsApp, or whatever it is. Know the proper protocols and the etiquette while utilizing those forms of communication. So let's start off with walkies, because that's like a main one. So understanding
walkies have their own language. One of the things that you need to learn, if you do not already know, like a task that I would want to learn immediately on getting to set, is how to put a battery on a walkie, like how to build your walkie. So putting on the antenna. And this is something you can totally ask another PA. Like, hey, can you show me? Make sure, try a few times. I'm doing this motion, showing you I'm holding a walkie and putting in the battery and then taking it out and then putting in the battery. Make sure you know how to do that, because one of your jobs as a PA will be to provide hot bricks to the crew. And that's
what's a hot
part
brick?
Of the lingo. A hot brick is a charged battery. So knowing what batteries are charged and what are not, green light, red light, like ask the walkie PA if that is not you. If it is you, good luck. Red light means not charged, just so you know. Blinking light means charging. And then once it's a solid green light, it means it's charged and ready to give out. Sometimes you're in a desperate situation and you have to give out the still charging ones, but knowing you're going to turn them over, make sure, usually they have them in like bags. They'll throw cold brick, hot brick. Cold brick is a dead battery into a bag. Make sure those are labeled and do not get confused, because if you start handing out cold bricks, people are going to get very upset very quickly because they cannot communicate with their departments. And that is the primary mode of communication in general on a film set, is your walkie.
Yeah, speaking of departments on there are different channels.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that you know what channel your walkie is supposed to be set to. So for instance, like if you show up and you turn on your walkie, you might think that it's, ready for you to use, but it's on channel 5. So you're sitting there waiting for somebody to give you commands on this channel because it's already preset there, and you're not hearing anything. Meanwhile, your UPM has been calling you for the past 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes on set feels like 3.5 hours. And they can't get a hold of you. Why? Because you're on the wrong channel. So understanding which channel you're supposed to be on, there are industry standards and
it's on your call sheet typically. So you can look at it, and that's something we'll talk through. And we do have a kind of radio lingo cheat sheet for you guys to download. But doing a walkie check when you first get there, making sure that your walkie and your surveillance work. Surveillance meaning this is the earpiece and the wires. Drop your wires down underneath your outside shirt. It doesn't need, you should be wearing layers, so you should have one that you can drop, and then it's not necessarily like up against your skin to irritate you, because I have sensory issues and that drives me nuts. But in between the shirts, so that it's not getting caught, because that there's a lot of extra, usually like walkie wire that will get caught on literally everything. It would get caught on lights and cameras and doorknobs and fences and whatnot. And it will, one, rip it out of your ear, which could cause, problems to both you and the walkie. And it's a safety. You look way cooler when it's down the back of your shirt, inside of your shirt.
And also with surveillances, some production companies provide them, some don't. If that is your preference to have a surveillance in your ear, as opposed to a headset or whatever it might end up being, if you have a preferred type, bring it. Make sure that the plug is compatible with the walkie that you're walking into on set.
And we do provide a link for one that we recommend. It fits in your, it's not an in your ear, it sits on your ear, so it's not quite as irritating for wearing for long periods of time. I would also recommend, once you get into wearing walkies, like swap ears if you can. Some people can't. I can only do it in one ear. It depends. I swap because I will get ear infection if I'm wearing it. Like if I wear it in one ear the whole show, I will get an ear infection by the end of the show.
I have
clean your surveillance every single day on your ear.
On my right ear, I have a little bit of hearing loss from an accident. And so I only put the surveillance in my right ear. So I have it jacked up all the way because this is my good hearing ear and I need to be paying attention to other things. And then sometimes, there's situations on, script supervisor or depending on the different type of media that you're shooting, you might have an IFB, which listens to the talent's voices. It runs right into the audio. So you're listening to them. So you're having to pay attention to what is going on around you and be trying to listen to that while you have your actors and talent speaking in one ear and then you have your crew in the other.
Yeah. And the general rule of thumb for walkies is minimal chatter. You want to keep it as brief as possible because of people like Brandon who have all the voices in their head. And those people really need it to be as succinct as possible. So one of the things that you'll typically do is learn very quickly, like take conversations to 2. 2 is your kind of free-for-all private conversation channel. It's not private. Don't talk about things you don't want other people to know because most people I know go to 2 and listen when they're bored. It is a thing.
I'm not saying that I have.
Oh, I do it all the time. Like the moment somebody says go to 2, I'm like, what's happening? And also because it is my job to kind of keep tabs on different things, and problems typically go to 2. So if you're like, I think let's role play.
Okay.
All right. So first, plug it in, put on my surveillance. Dropped it down my back, plugged in my walkie, battery is hot.
All right, and I have the little button right here.
Yeah, right here. Walkie check.
Good check.
Gabby to Brandon.
Go for Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, can you jump to 2?
Going to 2. Brandon's on 2.
Hey, Brandon, did you know your fly's unzipped?
No, I didn't, but now that makes a lot of sense as to why everybody's been staring at me today. I thought it was this Versace shirt that I was wearing, and they were just jealous. It turns out that they're not.
That's
over. Going back to 1.
And there's a lot of times where you'll call somebody and say like we're going to 2, and then they won't follow, and you'll have to go back and get them again and then follow over. It's a whole thing. I would say as PAs, don't jump to 2 if it's not you. If you're not the one being asked to do the thing, don't jump to 2. That is a privilege / too much information at your level. Like you don't need to know all the things. And typically it's like production problems, AD problems. They're talking through the schedule for the next day. It's more conversations are happening there. And there are other free channels, but 2 is the first one that most people go to. So you, at some point in your PA career, an AD will get on there and be like, who the F, the blankety blank is keying in my ear? And that is pressing the button so that nobody else can talk. So if you're pressing it either on your actual walkie or on your little button thing, they can only hear you. And it's a high-pitched, like keening, awful sound that literally, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It is the film equivalent of nails on a chalkboard. And everyone hates it. And there are some ADs that will like flip out when people are keying. And a lot of times you don't know it because you've like hit something back here with your multi-tool or whatever. And it is all of the PA's jobs to help each other like figure that out as quickly as possible and turn it off.
Yeah, and
pay attention when you go to the bathroom because you don't want to key while you're doing business.
Yeah, and also I have done that. I have been the person that has keyed And I've also been the person that's been mad about the keying as well. So this is a real true story. I was, getting comfortable in a chair and I was kind of just sitting back. And then all of a sudden I hear it and I'm like, who the is keying? And then I'll turn to it like a different channel. Maybe that one's keying too. And I'm like, what is going on? And so call out like, whoever's keying needs to turn it off. And everybody's looking at their walkies. And then you realize, oh no, Brandon, you're leaning back and it's pushing the button and you are in fact the problem. Yes, you. So yeah. And it's okay to admit to those types of things. Like you learn.
Everyone does it.
Yep.
Literally everyone does it. The goal is to help each other figure out, because if you're keying, you can't hear that you're keying.
Yep.
Everyone can hear what you're doing. So please don't be talking bad about, like, everyone can hear. But it is your job to help other PAs figure out who's keying and to stop it as quickly as possible.
Yes. And so other etiquette that you were going to discuss is about phones. I think the first number one rule that you need to know about having a phone on set is to have it on silent. That is just the most simple thing. I also don't think that there's many people out there who keep their ringer on. I haven't had my ringer on my phone for at least
10 years.
Probably, yeah. I think since I got rid of my Nokia in 2006.
Yeah.
That's when I swapped up. And even then, my BlackBerry that I used to
vibrate.
Gosh, I'm talking about this.
Okay, dating yourself.
No.
If you are expected to receive tasks via your phone, you do need it on some type of alert so that you know when those are coming through. Vibrate is your friend. If you're keeping it in a pocket where you can feel the vibration, if it's in your fanny pack and it's something you can't feel, you might need to change that up so that you can know when alerts are coming through and you can stay abreast of the conversation and tasks being given out.
Yeah, and if there's vibrating settings, like high vibration versus low, you're going to probably want to go for a low or a mid, not one of those high ones where all you can hear is all the way across the entire set.
Sound carries, and sound will let you know.
Yeah. Somebody's phone is vibrating. So silent or vibration is definitely key, but there's also some other protocols when it comes to dealing with a phone. One, having conversations. If you're going to have a conversation and you need to talk with somebody on the phone, do it in an area that we're not filming, especially if the cameras are up and sound is rolling at that same exact time. Two, private conversations, try to keep them off the set, try to keep them in your downtime hours. Of course, emergencies do happen.
If you need to talk to your mom about her dog that is sick or whatever, and it's I need to talk to her because maybe they have to be put down this week or something, that is a lunchtime conversation. If there is an emergency, you then let your direct boss, your QPA or whoever know, hey, such and such is happening. Can I take this call? And then step off set to take the call. But make sure you check in that there's not something crazy going on where they need all hands on deck. And in 10 minutes, you would then be able to make the call.
Yep. Also, on top of that, we are in the age, the digital age, information technology, and social media. People like to document their lives. We're not doing the disposable cameras anymore. It takes a week or so to go ahead and get your photos back. Again, dating myself, this is great. But what is the proper etiquette when taking selfies, taking photos on set? What you should and should not do. Okay? Rule of thumb is ask. It is the simplest thing to do. What is allowed on set?
What are your social media protocols?
Mm-hmm. What can you take a picture of? What can you not? Are you allowed to list the location? 99.9999999% repeating. You are not allowed to talk about your location. You're not allowed to talk about anything that is going on set. Read your NDA.
Yes, read your NDA before you sign it. Know the specifics, but also understand taking pictures of sets where there aren't actors is probably also not allowed. I really wanted, when I was a young PA and first starting on Vampire Diaries, I knew that they were I wasn't going to be able to take pictures of anything. It was very high security because everybody was crazy about the vampires at that point. And this is 2013. And so one of the things I did as my first day picture was I would take a picture of my shoes standing in the parking lot and be first day on set, second day on set, whatever cutesy, whatever weirdness I decided to do. And I still went to my boss and was is this okay to post? It is literally asphalt, my feet, and a date, but is that too much? And it was fine for me to post, but like just making sure, and like don't ask them you don't go ask your boss that when they're in the middle of a big thing, but when there's downtime, you're like, hey, I took this selfie, this is in the background, or like I went outside of the stages, but it does show me at the stage. Like just confirm, because they know things that you don't 100% of the time.
Yeah. And then also, like, you might want to get a group picture of like your fellow crew members. You take a selfie with all of you guys on set to commemorate that moment. Know when you are allowed to share that photo. If you're allowed to share that photo, are there any constraints when it comes to it? Do certain things need to be blurred out? Do you need to mark out if you see in the background a script, or you might see somebody's name? You have to go through and edit that photo so that it marks it out, so that it is appropriate for you to go ahead and post. A lot of times, most shows or movies or film, whatever it might be, any type of media, you typically can't post anything about it until after the actual film has premiered, it is broadcast, or, it has been exhibited in some way or form.
Yeah. So what I see most often is that there's no disclosing of like private information, but you're allowed to take like selfies and different things to mark your days and whatnot. Some people like to do that if like day 1 of 30, day 2 of 30, that kind of thing on their social media. And that's a great way to track other people that are working and be like, hey, I'm available. But making sure that if you take those group photos, or if you take certain things that okay, I should definitely wait because this indicates a location until we've wrapped. And so that is often another thing that like people will post photos of like the show that is now wrapped, because they are no longer at that location. They are no longer at that stage. It is completely safe. Everybody has moved on. There is nothing for somebody to come and find, which a lot of looky-loos like to do. And so waiting till after you're wrapped is another common request for crew photos. And then again, if you have things that are like with actors in their costumes, like they can't even post those photos until the movie has come out. They want to control the release of information about that, which includes the photos that you took.
Yep. And I had this one incident where we had wrapped filming, and somebody on the crew posted a photo from behind the scenes between wrap and broadcast date. There was something that happened in the photo that was a really big reveal that we were waiting for the broadcast date. There was a 6-month gap in between wrapping and this show going
and that's
to air.
Fast.
And that photo was released in between because they thought, hey, we're wrapped. I can go ahead and post this. Nope. This person got into a very lot of trouble.
Legal trouble.
A lot of legal trouble.
And we'll get into that when we get into releases and NDAs and such. But like,
yep,
it is not something productions take lightly, and it will get you fired. So ask the questions, know the parameters, and like literally put them in a folder, like, or an album, organize them in an album on your phone for once the film is released kind of thing. Like remind yourself, I cannot post this.
Yep.
So
absolutely. And then our group chats. So a lot of times you will end up getting in like a Slack communication or a group chat. So you might have a production group chat where you have information. For instance, sometimes there are location changes and you need to disseminate this information to a lot of people at the same exact time. And there is a production group chat. It might be just in your phone messages or in WhatsApp or some other type of communication. Know what the purpose is for that specific chat. There might be a PA chat where it's just information about,
key PA handing out tasks to different PAs.
There might be a whole...
But there's usually a set PA chat, which like producers are on, the ADs are on, etc., which is like calling out every scene as it is completed. All right, we're turning around, so you know where you're at in the shot list, and it helps everyone keep track of the day. It's not the place to put your recommendations for like where to go after you wrap.
That's private. And so treat it almost like a walkie as well. So if you want to go to a private chat, you send them a private message that has nothing to do with this. If you're having a conversation about something, you could even be having a conversation about the best places to go ahead and find equipment. But not everybody in the group chat needs to be knowing this information. So, hey, I'm going to send you a private message, or just send them the private message and then just take it from there.
The majority of your communication to in a text message or even in walkie is going to be copy. Like when you're replying, always say copy. Let the person that's speaking know that they have been heard. That is vital. It will get you hired again and again and again. I cannot tell you how many people they're like, yeah, this one says copy consistently and that one doesn't. So I'm going to go with this person. And like, there's no difference between them other than there is like a constant stream of communication of like, I've heard you received. I have heard it many times where an AD is like, did anyone copy? And then you're copy, from everybody, all the different walkies. And like, it is much better to be the only person that says copy than not to say it. So in your group chats, it's like, all right, turning around, that doesn't necessarily need something or response because they're just they're keeping again, communication of what is going on set to everyone out there. But if they're like, all right, we're moving on to second team, or, copy, great, copy. Like, and you'll see once one PA says it, then all the other PAs start jumping in and copy. And then we'll move on to the next subject or, this task, we're going to do a coffee run now and I'm going to need 3 PAs in 20 minutes to come get orders. Copy.
Also, knowing who the admin is for that specific thread or that specific chat helps to understand what this entire thread or group chat is about and whom you should speak to find out, is it appropriate for me to ask these specific types of questions? So if you are on the set chat, it is not a place for you to be asking like the AD or asking the UPM or whoever it is about their favorite something. Know who to communicate to. And this is not just for the chats. It's not just for the walkies. It is for in person. So you don't want to go up to, let's say, the director, for example, and say, hey, where can I find extra cups for water? First of all, the director probably has no clue where that is. Not. And then second of all, more than likely, you just interrupted something that's probably really important for them for that day, and they're going to remember your face. They may not remember your name, but they'll remember your face as the guy that, or the person that came up and interrupted them for a trivial question that could have been answered by the key PA, a production coordinator,
or just another, like maybe, so your first resource, especially if you're the new one and everybody else around you is more experienced, start with the more experienced PAs. Like ask them your questions. Hey, I was told to go restock XYZ. Do you know where I would find that? And if they say no, like, do you know who I should ask? Because the next thing I'm going to do is go ask the key PA and then like work your way up the set hierarchy. And something that we're giving you guys is like a flow chart of set hierarchy and some resources of places where you can read about different roles if that's something you're not already familiar with, or just want a refresher before you go on set as part of your first day jitters. If you see people having a conversation not about cups of water, don't go and ask them about cups of water. Yeah. A great rule of where would I find this or da-da-da. And they may know or they may not know. And you can figure it out together.
Yeah. And also on your first day, whoever your direct supervisor is, I think it's also really good for them to, or for you to ask them, hey, who are the different people on set? And they can point them out to you so you know who you can go to, who you should avoid. And it's good to know who your producers are and who your director is. I had this one incident where I was a producer for the shoot, and we had somebody who was keeping time during the shoot and was basically locking up the set. And so I took a back seat for this where I wasn't on set the entire time. I was the executive producer for the whole shoot. And so I showed up set and I walked up to the front and I'm just standing there just observing. And this person says, you're not allowed to be on set. And I was like, oh, okay. Only producers, director, and talent are allowed on set. You need to go back over there. And I was like, okay. There are a lot of people who would have, in that situation, shut down the entire shoot and said, you out. But I gave the person the benefit of the doubt because I was like, what does he think that I'm doing? So during our crew meal, I walked up to this person and I said, hey, out of curiosity, thank you for taking care of that on set. I really do appreciate it because I did. I appreciate that they took the initiative. They were doing their job, but just didn't know. And I said, so what do you think that I do here? Person said, well, you handle craft services, don't you? And I was like, you're correct. I do. I also handle hair and makeup. I handle talent. I handle the director. I handle paying you. I handle all of the above. And you could see the color just drain out of this person's face and was like, oh my goodness, you're the Brandon that's the producer on the call sheet. And I said, yes, I am that Brandon. But I forgave them because it was an honest mistake and I could see that they were actually trying. So I now know that I make sure that my presence is felt and they know who I am.
Yeah.
But it's good to know. It's good to know who everybody is.
Point out those things. And like, look, if you're on a lockup, it does mean lockup. Like I am held in lockups as a line producer or a producer on set. Like typically I don't get through those either unless there is an actual emergency, in which case I will say, no, I am shutting down set now because so-and-so, this was during COVID times, we didn't get COVID test on XYZ person. Like I have to shut it down now. And then I will break lockup and I will let everybody know that I'm breaking lockup because everybody's gonna be mad at me and that's my job, you know? But making sure that you're like, if you can know who the key players are and have your fellow PAs kind of point them out, or your hiring person, and say like, who are the key people? Because there are some positions that are not always on set that are still like very much an authority figure. Like your second AD is usually like at base camp, not at set. But when they come to set, they need to be able to access set. Your line producer may often, like if you have a line producer and a UPM, the UPM is typically like circling set, and your line producer may come once or not at all during the day. But knowing who that person is, because that person signs your paycheck, is very important.
Yeah, and the executive producer, a lot of times, they don't even go to set at all, like ever.
If you see people wandering around in wildly inappropriate clothing, like assume they might be like the investor's family. And so you're always like, oh, that's so, like we're being nice to everybody, but we're also, how are you associated with the production? Like you just never know. You never know.
Yeah, and mistakes happen. Like we're all flawed human beings. We do make mistakes. Some are bigger than others, and there are consequences to those big mistakes. But the smaller ones, I think that you need to learn how to give yourself a little bit of a grace because you will mess up. It's inevitable.
If you get fired because you accidentally spoke to a director when you couldn't, and like he was like, they're gone. There's not really anything or much that people can do to keep you on. But if you have showed your work ethic and you have been you have shown yourself to be a good hire, they will still hire you on the next show. A lot of times there is a certain ego involved in that, or certain like protocols. You're not going to be blacklisted unless you are doing something that is like wildly unsafe. People get fired and you move on to the next thing. And you say thank you you still say thank you to the people that hired you and your fellow PAs, and like, I'm available, Because
most times, like the people that hired you will see a situation like that happen where, example, a director might just be like, I want them out because they asked me a question. They'll understand. They'll be like, girl, it's not that serious.
And they're like, I'm so sorry.
I will hire you on my next project because we see that you are diligent. You have a good attitude. You are asking questions. You are doing constant sweeps, trying to see what you can do in order to keep the place clean, how you can assist other people. We see those things and we note it and we make sure that we hire those people back. So do not worry about it.
A good attitude goes a very long way.
It does. The last thing I want to talk about is conflict. Now, you are working with people that have so many different types of personalities, wants, desires. Not everybody is going to be on the same page as you. So conflicts can and do arise. It might be a misunderstanding or whatever it is that ends up escalating into an actual conflict. So how do you handle conflicts and resolve them on set?
This is not the place to like necessarily stake your ground. Some people's fights are not your fights, especially if they're like higher up. Don't get pulled into all the muck. Try to stay neutral and just keep working. Like move to the next task kind of thing. If it is a personal beef with someone, like, figure it out yourself. Just apologize. Say, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to communicate that in that way and whatnot.
And sometimes on the call sheet, there will be an HR number or some kind of like conflict number or whatever it might
Especially if
be.
you're working for a studio.
That you might be able to call up and, report things or figure out some kind of way to have a mediated resolution. The easiest thing, too, is to go to say that you're having a conflict with another PA. Go to your key PA so that hopefully maybe they can settle whatever type of issue that you're having.
If it's a conflict about a task, I would say go to the key PA. If it is I don't like your personality and it rubs me the wrong way, which will happen. It happens all the time, especially when you are hot, you are sweaty, you are tired, hangry, like those, it happens. Just avoid those people as much as you possibly can. Avoid people that rub you the wrong way. What eventually happens as you work is you find people that you vibe with, they continue to hire you, you continue to you'll find people that you'll start hiring as you're moving up in jobs. And at the place that I'm at now, I know if I was I can hire every single position with people that I just genuinely enjoy being around at this point in my career. And that's amazing. There are always going to be people that just do it differently or you don't like their personality. And I would just say, try to avoid them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Your job. That's the important thing.
The only thing that you have control over in any of those situations at any time is your own reaction.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't control how somebody speaks to you. You can't control on something that somebody does. You can't control a lot of things, but what you can do is you can control your reaction and what you do in this situation. So if somebody's coming at you in some kind of way and you don't like it, you could just walk away from the situation. It's as simple as that. If somebody doesn't like your personality or you don't like theirs, you can still be a professional and work with them by saying,
professionalize them.
You know what? I'm just going to accept that that's who they are. They were hired for a specific reason because they can do this specific task well. I may not get along with them, but I'm still going to be professional in the situation and work through it. We've all been, starting out in the industry and made very simplistic mistakes. And we're hoping that maybe you can learn from our mistakes.
But also, mistakes are not the end of the world. They feel really bad when you have to go up and tell your boss or supervisor what you did.
Do you have any examples?
Yes, I do. I have many. I mean, I would say I make mistakes every single shoot. That is just a normal thing. I run a take every shoot because I'm handling an emergency and I didn't get far enough away from set to get on the phone or whatever. But as a PA, again, back on Vampire Diaries, we were in prep and it was our responsibility as office PAs. We kind of rotated through ordering and picking up breakfast. And it was my first time doing it. And I did not understand how to order for groups at that point. And I knew that we had 50 people that were coming through for breakfast. And so I ordered enough for 50 people. Well, what restaurant orders for 50 people versus you don't need 50 people, eggs, omelets, you don't need 50 person of each one. You typically order more 20, and then you get a variety of different things. I spent more than 4 times what was budgeted. And I didn't realize it because we placed the order and I went to go pick it up. And that's when I saw the final receipt. Also a mistake. Ask when you're placing orders or whatnot, get a prelim. I went to go pick it up and I was like, oh, this is so much money. So much money. And I was just what do I do? And so I got back and I just went to my supervisor and I was like, I did this and I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, okay. I mean, it's spent now. Maybe we invite the grips to come over and eat some of it. They'll clean it up, we figured it out. They obviously, I'm not in charge of the money at that point, but and she was like, okay, do you need help ordering next time? And I was like, I mean, I feel like I've got it now, but I'd love you to look over it just to make sure we're all on the same page. And so the next day when I did it correctly. I learned from it. And it was not a be all end all. It did not result in anything other than me double checking a couple times to make sure that it was done correctly.
I'm laughing because I too have done.
We had so many pancakes. We had like 5,000 pancakes.
Yeah, I have done that. So be kind to yourself. It's your first day. Have fun. And
to your mistakes quickly because they need to be rectified, and that it is cheaper and better for everyone involved the sooner they know it's a problem. Like, I literally was able to get it fixed before anyone else other than my supervisor came into the office. What is room tone?
Room tone is to get the ambient atmospheric sound, the natural sound that is happening around you while filming, and everybody has to be quiet. You don't move. You don't click anything.
Don't breathe. We don't want to hear your nostril whistle.
Yep.
You don't open candy.
Yep.
You don't, because what happens is everybody goes silent, and then you're 30 feet that way. Sound's still going to hear it. And then they're going to say, somebody was chewing, start over. And then you're going to start over. And then everybody gets more and more irritated.
Yeah. And the purpose of the room tone is when you're recording actors' voices, it's usually into individual channels. And so they will clip people's audio because it might be breathing in between takes or whatever it might be. But it's cut. Well, when it's cut, you'll hear the ambient noise in the background. But then once the actual cut has happened, the ambient noise goes away because you're cutting through the different like segments within their speech or whatever it is that they're talking about. So you underlay the room tone, which is usually about 30 seconds, and that gets looped underneath. So if you have a cough in the middle of a room tone, that cough will be looped in throughout the entire scene, ruins everything. So when they call room tone, what do?
You freeze. But if you're holding something heavy, if you cannot hold, like if you have a leg up, I don't know why you have your leg up, but anyway, like get yourself to a position where you can safely stand for 30 seconds to a minute. If you're holding 7 boxes, you should place them down right at the beginning of room tone, and then you freeze. If you need to sneeze immediately, or like you do it quickly and then get quiet, because it takes everybody a minute, or not a minute, but like a few seconds to settle into room tone, and then it's going to take at least 30 seconds. This was First Day Expectations and Etiquette. Up next, what is a call sheet and how to read it?